In many Chabad homes, the girls and women have a tambourine. What is the significance behind this?
The Medrash tells us, and the Rabbi very often quoted it, that B'schar ha'emunah, it was in the merit of the faith that we had in Hashem that we were redeemed from Mitzrayim, and it will be also in the schar of the emunah and the bitach and the trust in Hashem that will be redeemed from this galus. Now the Medrash specifically tells us that in the time of Mitzrayim, the women prepared tambourines. Specifically, it says tambourines and other musical instruments, because their faith was so strong in what Moshe Rabbeinu promised, the coming of Mashiach, that they actually prepared it from beforehand. And that's why, after the Geula took place, after they had Kriyas Yamsuf, so the men, it says, only sang with their mouths, they only had oral song, whereas the women, they sang betupim uvimchayles. They used tambourines, they used musical instruments, and they danced. And the reason for this is because when Moshe Rabbeinu came along and he said to the Jewish people, you're going to go out of Galus. And the Torah itself tells us, Vayami Noam, the people believed him. The people believed him, and they knew that the Geula will come, and they bowed and they praised Hashem. But when times got tougher and the Geula didn't come right away, their belief continued, and they still believed, but on one hand they believed, on the other hand, the reality that they lived in at the time was not one of Geula. So they did believe that it's going to happen, but it was almost like it's going to happen at some time in the future, but it's not something which we're living with now already. The women, on the other hand, they, as soon as Moshe Rabbeinu told them the Geula is coming, they didn't just believe it, but no matter what came and no matter what hardship came in the way, they continued to believe it actively in a way that they were already preparing for the Geula, and they already had those musical instruments ready. And that's why when the Geula did come, their song was a greater and a more powerful one, because their song wasn't just one that was born right then from the miracles that happened then. Their song was one which had been not just practiced, but had been actually lived. And they'd lived through it throughout the time, even in the time of the Galus. And this was something special in specifically the Jewish women, which is why it says that B'schar nashim tzidkanios nigalu aveseinu Mitzrayim, in the merit of the righteous women, our forefathers were redeemed from Mitzrayim. And it says in the schar of nashim tzidkanios shebedoir, of the righteous women of every generation, that's where every Geula comes from. Because a Geula is not just something that there's two times, there's Galus and there's Geula, and we know that the Geula will come, but in the meantime we're in Galus. The real idea of Geula is that even while we're in Galus, and even while the hardships of Galus are taking place, we don't only believe in the Geula, but we're already living the Geula, and that's what actually brings it and draws it down. And that was something that back in Mitzrayim was done by the women, and therefore it's also in our time, specifically the Jewish women, whose faith in Mashiach, and especially in the Rebbe's prophecy that Mashiach is coming, that despite all the hardships that have set in since, and despite all the darkness that there is, that the women are specifically demonstrating, just as they did back in the time of Mitzrayim, that not only do we believe despite everything that will come, but we actually are living it already now, and this living it now will draw it down, that we should actually see it with our physical eyes.